It's my pleasure to introduce two local leaders who are making a huge difference to the lives of those who are homeless in the Chicago community. And as an associate board member of this nonprofit, Street Samaritans has helped evolve my understanding of what it means to be a person for others. So without further ado, please give a warm welcome to friends of mine, but the Vice President and President of Street Samaritans, Neal Karski and Melanie Fernando.
Check. Are we good? So are you going to join us up here, or?
Okay.
Okay. Hey, guys. Thanks so much for coming out. My name is Neal.
And Melanie.
And we are the founders of Street Samaritans. So just want to dive into this a little bit more. And, part of our cause is to try to educate folks on the homeless issue in the U.S. and especially in our community in Chicago. So it is estimated there are about 750,000 homeless folks at any day in America. So it's a huge, huge issue. And homelessness is something that's very misunderstood and misconceived. And, we feel like we want to bring a little bit more of a positive light to this cause. So homelessness is not always defined by not having a home, but perhaps being displaced or being doubled up in somebody else's home as well. Since we are in Chicago and our organization is based here and that's where we focus, it is estimated at about 75,000 homeless folks in the Chicago area.
Yeah, and as you saw the number before, that's 10% of the estimated national volume of homelessness overall, and it's staggering, really. And I'm sure you encounter it on a day-to-day basis. So that's really what I think inspired Neal and I to, get a group of like-minded people together and start the organization, and to start finding people like Sarah who are passionate about the cause to join our organization and just really grow from something really grassroots into something more formal and more impactful. So we're excited to share our journey with you today.
Basically, our mission is give, educate, connect, right? So what we really focus on is giving out living essentials to the homeless. So we collect donations, living essentials, hygiene products, toiletries, clothing, any shelter essentials to those who are living without means to thrive in shelter. So we work with corporations, small businesses, other nonprofits to bring together these resources. We then organize drives to take inventory, put together care packages, and actually go out on foot to interact with the homeless. And we're one of the only organizations in Chicago that does that goes out to our actual patrons. So that's one of our differentiators. Melanie can talk a little bit more about the human connection element here.
Yeah, so during those outreach drives, kind of like Neal mentioned, something that I think I've never experienced anywhere else was going beyond just putting together the care packages, getting the living essentials together for distribution later by an organization. This really allows our volunteers and ourselves to go above and beyond, I think, our call to action and connect with those people, lend them that dignity that they deserve as a human being and really understand what they're going through. A lot of times you're, just walking past them on your day-to-day commute. You don't take the time to really pause and, even look them in the eye. I think a lot of times I had this almost guilt seeing them, thinking, I don't have a dollar, maybe even something like I don't have time, I'm late for work, and just running past and not even stopping to look some of these homeless people in the eye and recognizing them as a fellow human being. So during our drives and during our programs, we really make that effort to, socialize these people and kind of show the compassion that us as all human beings should have and have for one another. And I always hear from our volunteers that that's something that, is really they take with them when they leave. And it's an experience that is so invaluable to really teach you how to be a better person and to recognize struggles beyond our own and to be selfless. So it's amazing.
Yeah, and I think we just wanted to take it up on our hands. If we saw it kind of an innate purpose within us to do something about it. We've known each other since college and went to Loyola, and we saw this issue happening in front of our eyes. So it's there was this drive internally to do something about it. So we started. I think. We put inception April 2017, but I think we started way beyond that, or way before that. And as I was saying, Melanie and I always worked on projects together, even after college. And it came up in April 2017 that I wanted to put together a small care package drive, go out, hand out food, hand out some clothing and essentials. And it came out to be a positive proof of concept. So we got together, we said to ourselves, I think we got something good going here. I think this is something that we can grow and that we can provide a lot of impact with our community. So we took it up on ourselves to get 501c3, which was a lot of work. We did all of the documentation ourselves. We had a friend of ours who's a lawyer review our application, and we got approved in 2017, and we're able to actually start fundraising as a real organization. And about a year later, we started impacting a few hundred homeless folks every month. We started gathering volunteers. We started building relationships with corporate partners, and we had our first gala, which was a big success. And just about a year and a half, we're able to get to a point where we're almost raised $100,000. And fast forward to now, we're shooting to double our impact this year and beyond that. And I just put it here down below. Some of the key things I think for us that really helped us to get to where we are today is the time we invested into this. Our personal relationships within our network that we're able to leverage for building community partners, nonprofits, et cetera. Our awesome associate board. We appeared on TV a few times, talked about our organization. As I was mentioning, corporate partners. I think it was, we really spent a lot of time doing grassroots fundraising. We didn't really have any experience on going out and doing huge campaigns. So it was, Mel and I, asking our friends, asking our family, and it was cool because they started recognizing that we got something going, and then it extended beyond there. And I think we've been very transparent within the Chicago nonprofit community. We to this date we have not taken a dollar of salary. So I think those are some of the key success factors.
Yeah, I'll just chime in. It's kind of funny to see the journey in these, succinct circles. There's so much effort and, so much granularity in all the things that we did, from applying to get the 501c3 to really reaching out to our networks and kind of trying to spread awareness of the cause. Because, again, kind of like Neal alluded to in the beginning, there's a lot of stigmas around homelessness. It's not something as easy, I think, to fundraise for as we found out through the journey. So I think that's why awareness is so important. And we've had a lot of lessons learned, and it's truly been an eye-opening journey, and we're only continuing to expand and broaden our impact. So it's an exciting time for us.
We're actually launching a new initiative. We're calling it the Wall of Faces. So on our website, if you go to streetsamaritans.org and click on Wall of Faces, we're actually starting to feature some of the homeless folks. And we're doing it in collaboration with a friend and associate of ours named Steve McKenzie. He's a local photographer, so he does portraits of these folks, and kind of like a Humans of New York style. And his Instagram's people_beautiful_people, and he features these guys, and he talks to them on really a daily basis. So, we collaborate together. He actually goes out and through our resources allows them to, give them clothing and food and a lot of the things that they need. But, it's helping us get to know these people better. Where are they coming from? what sort of experiences are they going through, and how we can really help them on more of an individualized basis. So that's a program we're working on right now, and we're really excited about it.
And so in terms of spreading awareness, this is just an overview of kind of the split and what we see amongst the homeless. So as you can see, 40% is mental illness. This is a huge one that I think is commonly misunderstood. I think you see a lot of it actually in the Chicagoland area, just because of the closure of a lot of mental institutions over the past few decades. So they've kind of aggregated in more metropolitan areas, and you see the behavior, and it takes a certain person or a certain type of I think qualification to be able to encounter these people in a way where they respond well. So I think that's why we've started thinking about what kind of medical clinical staff can we have engaged in our organization, anywhere from like social workers to even psychiatrists, anyone willing to donate their time. And that's something we talked about before. Chronic addiction, that kind of stems, again, from behavioral health. That's another big issue. And I think that's also a problem, how do I say this? An issue with people donating, right? They're like, well, we don't want to give money out to people on the street because they might use it for fueling their addiction. So we think about other ways to help these people, linking them to, again, some kind of medical care. So that's a part of our nonprofit partnerships. Job loss and lack of support system. We encounter this a lot, and we find out a lot about this when we talk to the individuals and really get to know them. Why are they in this situation? A lot of them say that they had a job, they're kind of in an unstable place now because there were a lot of layoffs and they're working on it. And so we find out ways that we can uniquely help them to get them back on their feet, and that's invaluable just to know that. And them, in turn, to know that they have some kind of support system that they didn't have before is very uplifting for them. And then finally, domestic abuse and violence. We see this in a lot of, I think, women that we encounter. And a lot of people are actually afraid to live in shelters now because there is abuse going on in the shelter. Also, back to chronic addiction, there's a lot of drug using in the shelter as well. So I think spreading awareness to realities like this will just help people understand why these people living on the streets without a support system, with addiction, et cetera, do need attention and support. It's not just laziness or a lack of motivation on their part. There are a lot of complex issues, both personally, health-wise, mentally, that need to be understood to be able to enable them to come back into society and get the help that they need.
So you heard a little bit about homelessness, kind of what it looks like, what it entails. That's a big pillar of our mission, is to educate. And I think we provide value in a lot of different ways, right? So we said human connection, and I think it's, to some people it kind of sounds silly or not quantifiable, but we feel like when we interact with people on a consistent basis, we know a lot of these folks that we help. It really kind of helps them to get out of that negative spiral where constant societal rejection is just driving them towards a darker place. We talked about organizing care packages and outreach drives, so we have one big event every month, and right now we're trying to expand this to Loyola and DePaul and potentially to other communities. We're collecting essential items. We procure some of the items ourselves. We're constantly looking for bigger organizations that are able to help us with donating. We partner with local businesses and nonprofit organizations, and both of those are really important from a standpoint of just that spreading awareness, but also driving our donations. And with the nonprofit organizations, we actually just closed a big partnership with CARA Chicago. We're going to actually do a sort of an exchange of services in a sense. So CARA is a workforce placement company for folks who can't really find themselves. So we're trying to do an internship program with them where a couple of the folks they're training to get them retransition into society. We're going to actually provide internship opportunities for them. we're also trying to drive people to them as well, into that program as well. We're promoting awareness of the cause through education. We're trying to collect data, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later around one of our programs that we're working on right now. We consider ourselves a social organization. It's easy to come and volunteer. It's a good time. We actually like to do a lot of social stuff as well and getting like-minded folks together. We're constantly working on developing programs that are going to help these folks live better lives and educating the general public.
So in terms of what we've accomplished thus far, we're proud to say that we've distributed over 7,000 care packages. We have had over 750 individual volunteers attend our outreach drives, and we've impacted over 3,500 homeless people. This is over the course of 25 drives, so really since our inception in 2017, spring of 2017. Additionally, we've had social events, kind of like Neal spoke to. We like to have fun as well as, help a great cause. So we do a lot of social fundraisers. We have brunches, try to partner with businesses to set up events like that and have our volunteers come to those as well so we can get to know each other better and have a like-minded community of volunteers. And then, of course, we have our large annual gala. The first one was last year, and we're planning our second one this year. But I think to demonstrate this impact with just Neal and I and a few associate board members, I think it speaks volumes to what we can do if we, get more horsepower behind this and expand our offering and continue to grow. I mean, again, we're so excited for the future because, over the course of a year and a half, we feel like we've been able to impact the homeless in this way, but the possibilities are endless, and the future, I think, is bright for what we can continue to offer them.
So some of the new programs we're working on currently. So we talked about nonprofit partnership development. So we're looking into these adjacent organizations. So if you look at the spectrum of homelessness, from being homeless to being fully reintegrated back into society, we're pretty much right there as a first initial step. So we're kind of a feeder to other organizations. We're a support organization. So we are the ones that are interacting with the homeless on the most raw, organic basis. We're the ones that are getting the data. We're the ones that kind of are building trust with these people who a lot of the times don't know where to go. So we're looking down the spectrum where there are folks, there are organizations who are providing housing. There are organizations who are providing potentially some casework, some screenings, et cetera, and then up to workforce placement. And so we're constantly having conversations around, what is the best fit? How can we partner to produce the most impact down the line, and potentially get these folks off the street? Like I said, we're a support organization, which doesn't mean that we don't want to see the impact down the line. So, Melanie, actually, you want to talk about the next one?
Yeah, so mobile outreach IDs in collaboration with Line Care Health. So Line Care Health has been a great partner. It's a personal client of mine. Sorry. And they've agreed to take on a larger partnership in 2019, and they have something called a mobile care unit. So they're a Medicaid managed care organization. So they already go out to their members' communities and give out produce and do events to do health screenings, et cetera. So we thought it was a perfect fit to do a partnership with them and utilize their van on our outreach drives to offer those same services to the homeless individuals we encounter. Additionally, they have a partnership with an organization called Chicago Sky, which assists people with getting state IDs. And as we have learned, homeless people have a very difficult time maintaining their records and documentation, et cetera. So this is a big barrier for them to reintegrate into society because you can't get a job, you can't apply for Medicaid, et cetera, without documentation. So I think that this will be a great linkage for them as well. So really excited about that partnership this year and hope to make an impact.
So we're currently looking at different campaign models for our apparel. We're trying. A lot of people have expressed positive things about our brand, and we really want to try to utilize that as a vehicle for positive messaging and for communicating about the cause. So we're currently working on our own apparel line, sort of a Tom's model, where you're going to be able to purchase a shirt or purchase a hoodie, and that's going to result in X amount of care packages. So stay tuned for that. I talked about the Wall of Faces beforehand. Impact Plus is a community model where we're going to be looking for champions in other communities besides just the greater downtown where we currently serve, and kind of educate them on our model and teach them how to do collections, teach them how to do fundraising and organize their own events so we can kind of spread that impact to other areas of Chicago because homelessness is pretty dispersed around our city. And the last one, Mel?
So the mobile application Reach Out, we've had one of our associate board members put together an amazing application that we could start using during our drives to do data collection and make it more sophisticated and have more sophisticated insights. So we plan on essentially almost interviewing, to the extent that we can, the people that we encounter, getting vital information, like if they have phone numbers, email addresses, regular places that they tend to frequent or stay overnight, what their needs are, et cetera, so that we can start building more of an more individualized outreach. And I think that would link directly into the Wall of Faces once we were able to set up that platform so that we can say, okay, we've collected this data, we have the portrait of this individual, their needs are X, Y, Z, and their end objective is this, and then you can donate to this cause for this person. So I think it's going to be very powerful once we start collecting this data, because I think if you Google latest homeless studies, they're pretty outdated. There's some national studies, but within Chicago, there's not a lot of information out there publicly. So I think this is a gap that we can fill, and this will be a great app to do it with.
Yeah, and our organization, hopefully, as you can tell, is very young, and and all of our volunteers are young as well, and we're trying to that's sort of an associate board, so we're trying to leverage that. We're trying to leverage technology in ways other nonprofits have not been able to. Both Melanie and I come from consulting business backgrounds, so we're trying to use some of our methodologies and some of our knowledge from the private sector and apply it to the nonprofit work that we're doing. How to get involved?
So there are a lot of ways that each and every one of you in the entire community can get involved. They vary in terms of time commitment and financial commitment, but all of it is invaluable to the organization and the impact that we can make to each and every homeless individual. So volunteering, that's the monthly outreach drives. That's if we have a social event and need help setting up. That's if for the gala we need help setting up. That is always something that's needed. And I think in terms of fulfillment for the volunteer, the monthly outreach drives is, again, an experience that I think everyone should have in their lifetime, just to really speak to these people and have that human connection and recognize these individuals as human beings. The associate board, so that's what our friend Sarah over there has joined and been a great part of. We're constantly looking for people to help us formalize our programs, expand our reach. Neal and I love to work 24 hours a day, but can only take on so much. So we're always looking for passionate associate board members who have innovative ideas and are looking to bring more to the table. Collections, we're always looking for organizations to kind of sponsor goods. So always looking for that. Nonprofit partnerships. Neal already mentioned corporate partnerships. We get our gala sponsors. And then things like Illini Care, which are interesting partnerships where we can have mutual benefit for the community. Donations, we're partnering with organizations for that as well. But even if you have secondhand clothes, things you would give to the Salvation Army, we take that. The Senior Executive Board is something newer that we're creating this year, where we're looking for more people senior in their career who are looking to kind of advise our strategy and help us figure out the 5, 10-year, 15-year plan and help us kind of connect us to their networks to build more corporate partnerships. Neal also spoke to Impact Plus, and then lastly, events. Event planning, as Neal and I found out, takes a lot. Planning that gala last year and planning the gala this year takes a lot of work. So respect for everyone who plans their own events. But yeah, always looking for people who know how to source things for the event, how to find venues, et cetera.
Yeah.
So a ton of ways to get involved.
Yeah. So yeah, the spectrum is broad, obviously, and if if this is something that's appealing to you at all during this conversation, feel free to talk to us afterwards. There's some bulletins too that we have in that wooden box, so you can catch one on your way out. But it's a really awesome cause. It's a fun organization, and we had it's been a fun time growing this grassroots nonprofit. So many ways to get involved, and don't be afraid to ask. So how we envision the future, I think within the next year, as we get more funds, we want to make sure that we're providing more and more impact. We're widening our reach, so we want to formalize some of the new programs that we're working on. The resources that are going to come from this year's gala are going to go towards that. And our 3-year plan is really to measure our impact, to get some wins. We want to try to get some folks off the street, and we want to get them into new programs. We want to try to get the data, get some numbers behind us. And then our 5-year plan, we hope, is to expand this into other cities that are facing similar issues. Similar success factors here that I talked about, but we really need to build out a really solid team of folks to help us. We need to get some really good partnerships. We actually have a relationship with companies like Apple and Nike, and we really need to dive into those partnerships. We want to utilize technology, as I was talking about, and build a strong leadership board. So I think we're good with our presentation. I think, Sarah, you had some questions?
Thank you, guys. Round of applause for the presentation. Yeah, this was super informative. Thanks for stopping by again to our office. Hopefully the audience found it informative as well. I did have some moderated Q&A for you guys before we go to the live audience Q&A. And my first question for you both is, what were some of the biggest obstacles you faced in starting Street Samaritans?
I think for me it was the realization that it was something different than doing for-profit work. In a sense, I think it was a huge challenge, because you have to motivate people in a different way to get volunteers and keep your associate board members engaged and kind of give them purpose. So needless to say, Melanie and I's side of things is a little bit different than anybody else we encounter, because we're so embedded in a cause and we're kind of subjective towards it. So I think, maybe I'm speaking for both of us here, but it was just realizing how we can, rewire our mindsets a little bit, open ourselves up to actually doing this type of work, and share it with a passionate and objective way to other folks.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Again, we're coming from careers that are just like this all the time. You have deadlines, you're having a high standard of accountability, et cetera. And we kind of had to take a step back and say, how do we truly engage our volunteers, engage our associate board, structure things to where things are reasonable, things will get done, and people are having a very fulfilling and engaging experience. And again, how do we drive that to impact at the same time? So I think it was like a little of a balancing act there, but we've been evolving and figuring that out and continuing to get great people to join our board, and recurring volunteers who have come back and enjoyed the experience and seen the value. And I think that's been very rewarding.
Yeah. And going off of this rewarding feeling that you're talking about, how has this experience helped shape you, not only on a personal level, but also on a professional level?
Go ahead, Mel.
Yeah, I can say personally, it's just made me always feel more gratitude for everything. I come from, a family with humble beginnings, so that I think already gave me a perspective to, really value everything that I had and not take anything for granted. But this took it to another level. It just gave me more compassion for every human being, and also to, kind of take a step back and reevaluate all of my relationships in life and recognize that everyone is going through something. So instead of instantly judging someone, I always stop myself and say, why would they act this way? Or, what is a person's motive? Or, what is kind of behind their actions? So that I always approach something or someone with compassion, and I feel like doing that, putting that good step forward, I kind of get that reciprocated. So it's been a very eye-opening experience in that sense.
Yeah, for me, I think one of the biggest things was patience, and that is patience within building the actual organizations, patience with dealing with a lot of folks who, I may not have a hard time understanding. I think there was a time where I think we're out at Nordstrom Rack, buying some stuff, and there's a gentleman outside of Chick-fil-A by Loyola, and he didn't have any shoes, so I was like, hey man, I'm shopping. I'm gonna buy you some shoes, and he's like, okay, I'm size 9, so I went to buy him a pair of shoes. He came back, he tried them on, and it wasn't the right size, and he's like, okay, I'm a size 10. And I went back and I exchanged the shoes, and then I came back again, and then it didn't fit.
Oh my gosh.
And I went back like 4 times, and then finally it fit. And I was like, man, a few years ago, I probably wouldn't have done that, So it made me a lot more patient, a lot more understanding, whereas I know that the place he's coming from is nowhere near where I am right now, and I'm so fortunate. So I think that, I think overall just made me a better man.
And my last question, this one may be a little bit difficult to answer because it's a pretty futuristic question, but in your opinions, do you both think that we can have a homeless-free Chicago someday? It's a tough one.
Yeah, I would say if we were able to get the program to be something municipal or, supported by the government to where they made it the objective of the state to support socially the eradication of homelessness, then yes. The likelihood of that, I don't have so much confidence in that. Mm-hmm. Other than that, there would have to be some kind of source of funding, right? So whether that be the private sector or the public, without that, frankly, I don't see it completely eradicated.
What's interesting is that if there was no homelessness, organizations like us wouldn't exist. So that's catch-22. But I think, in an ideal world, we would certainly try to eradicate a lot of these negative issues that are going on, and the reality of that. It's a harsh reality. I think that I'm a big proponent of permanent supportive housing, and if we're able to accommodate these 75,000 people and help them reintegrate, there's a lot of resources involved in that process, and I'm not sure that, example in Chicago, the priorities are there as far as funding is concerned. So in the meantime, we're doing what we can to help those folks live better lives, and I think deep inside our hearts, we really want these people to get off the streets and actually transition in a better state. So I think it's certainly possible. I think up until then, organizations like us and there's a lot of amazing organizations that help the homeless as well. I think we're going to continue to strive to do our best to support these guys.
If anyone has questions, there's a mic back there. Till then, anyone have any pressing questions? Oh, we got one here.
Yeah, don't be shy.
So I have two. One is clarifying, the 75,000, is that like chronically homeless? Is that chronic and, I can't remember the other type, but more of like the transitional homeless?
Yeah, 75. So that's there's no kind of clear line there because the conditions change from the potentially chronically to doubled up. Like Melanie was saying, this the research is a few years old, so this number we think is potentially increasing with time. But it is a hybrid of the chronically and transition.
Okay, and then just. You talked about a few specific partnerships, but in the sort of like the broader ecosystem of like organizations supporting this, how do you sort of see your role like fitting in with some of the other orgs? Like, what's your focus versus, and what are you trying to do versus some of these other ones, I guess?
I'd say it's, I think we can be a vehicle towards first directing, and then once we establish, I think, and then also differentiating within the data. Because I think a lot of things we hear from shelters and from transitional agencies is that they struggle with the people they encounter because they'll come in the shelter, or they'll have a halfway house, then they won't be able to abide by the rules, they go back out, and they never really get to the core of what's going on with that individual, or what is their end goal, or what's really behind the situation that they're in. So I think anything that we can do to enable that through making the connections with the homeless and collecting that data and documenting that and tracking, for lack of a better word, tracking these individuals' journeys and sharing that and being open with that information and transparent with it, then I feel that we can enable just more effective services overall across the continuum. And then I don't know if you have anything to add.
You got it.
Cool.
Hi. First of all, thank you for what you're doing. Obviously, this is a huge problem, so you guys are doing something really incredible for the community. So my question is, do you guys have a schedule that you follow, that you're going out once a week or once a month? And when you do, are you going to the same spaces every time? Do you have those kind of regular hot spots that people know you're going to come to, or is it more of a random after you have a drive kind of situation?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've been doing this for enough time now that we know what our zones are, and we encounter a lot of people, and we see the same people too, because we want to make these relationships. So we kind of understand what the hot spots are in a sense, and being that a lot of times we are even street teams, we're kind of operating within a certain radius, and as I was saying, we're trying to expand to other communities as well, and try to maximize that impact even more. And as far as frequency, so we have a calendar of events for the rest of the year, and we'd be happy to share that with you guys as well.
Yeah, and I think the frequency is once a month, but again, as we formalize, extend our partnerships, do things like we're doing with the mobile care unit, we can have, I think, more spontaneous things like, the polar vortex this past winter. It would have been great if we had a mobile unit to be able to go out and, serve those in need then. So I think we'll just be able to, do things more and more extemporaneous once we...
Yeah, and we're doing care package drives and kind of one-off events too with corporates. We did one with Viacom last month. On Wednesday, we're doing one with Citibank. We're going and educating employees, talking about the cause, getting our hands on the care packages, potentially going out and distributing them too. And so I think there's the aspect of care package and putting that together. But I think for us, like being able to go out there and interact with people is like the true value.
Any other questions? Thanks, guys, for stopping by. Keep doing great work.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
stopping by.